Welcome to Bulletproof Discovery Hour, Behind the Cyber Threats. We have an exciting session lined up for you featuring 3 real cyber threats and their business impact. First, you'll hear from our SOC analyst, Matt McBride. Matt will walk you through how easily networks can be compromised, drawing from his expertise in incident response, penetration testing, and Microsoft Security Copilot. With a keen investigative mindset, strong communication skills, and a proactive approach to tackling new challenges, Matt will break down real cyber threat incidents and what they mean for your security. Following that, Chris Sim, our Senior Vice President of Professional Services, will dive into emerging cybersecurity trends and their business implications. Chris is a subject matter expert in delivering first-class security solutions while aligning them with business strategy. Currently, he is focused on advancing industry AI awareness and driving digital transformation across the Bulletproof portfolio. Before we get started, a few reminders. Feel free to submit your questions in the chat at any time. We'll hold off on answering until the end so we can fully answer your questions during the Q&A. Once the presentation is wrapped, you'll be automatically redirected to Microsoft Teams for our Q&A session with Matt and Chris. With that, we're thrilled to have you join us, so let's get started.
So hi everyone, my name is Matthew McBride. I'm a cybersecurity analyst here at the Bulletproof Security Operations Center based in Fredericton, New Brunswick. First, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome and a big thank you to everyone joining today's webinar. So today we're going to be going through a few incidents captured in Defender XDR. Now, while these incidents have already been resolved by our analysts, it's important to note that this session is really going to be focusing on showing how myself and other analysts use Defender XDR's capabilities to investigate, understand, and to stop these attacks. Now, this will really showcase Defender XDR's effectiveness for protecting our clients' environments. So the first incident that we're going to be running through today is an unusual number of failed sign-in attempts on one endpoint. Now, the main reason why I wanted to showcase this particular incident is because I really wanted to show how us as security analysts can add an extra layer of security to prevent this type of incident from happening in the future. Okay, so we're going to jump into it here, and we're going to look at the attack story here first. Okay, so as you can see here, there's only one alert associated with this particular incident, and that's okay. We're going to be getting into more complex incidents here very shortly. So first things first that we want to do is we want to look at this first alert here associated with this incident. Okay? So as you can see here, Defender XDR provides us with a long list of all the unusual failed sign-in attempts. Okay? So as a security analyst, what do we need to do here? Well, we need to figure out where these sign-in attempts are originating from. Okay? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to just click on this little arrow here. And as you can see, Defender XDR gives us a logon time, logon type, authentication, failure reason, as well as the account that's used to try to get onto the device. But the most important thing here is that there's this IP address here. Okay, so this means that this is where in this scenario, this is where the brute force attack is originating from. Okay, so we don't want to look at every single one of these failed sign-in attempts because that's just going to take too much time. But we need to ensure that there's no other IPs for where this brute force attack is originating from. So the great thing with Defender XDR is that we can just jump back out of here. And as you can see here from the incident graph, we have 2 IPs trying to communicate with this jump box here, CLS lab jump box. Okay, so this means that there's a brute force attack happening from these 2 IPs over here, and they're trying to brute force into this device called CLC lab jump box. Hence the incident name, unusual number of failed sign-in attempts on one endpoint. Okay, so as a security analyst, we need to determine whether or not these IPs are malicious or not. So just to save some time, I will say that these IPs are in fact malicious. Okay, so this is a legitimate brute force attack that's being carried out against this client's environment. Okay, so what I really wanted to showcase here is how we as security analysts can add that layer of security that I had mentioned earlier to prevent this incident from happening again in the future. Okay, so what we can do is we can use Defender XDR and we can put a block indicator in place. Okay, so this is how you can access it, but just note that I'm not showing you how to get to this step, but I just want to show you what Defender XDR can do, okay? So as you can see here, we can add indicators in for file hashes, IP addresses, URLs, and domains, as well as certificates. So for this particular alert, we're going to put in a block indicator for both of these malicious IPs, right? So what that's going to do is that's going to block any communications from and to those IPs in our client's environment, okay? So that's that extra layer of security that I'm talking about. So we're not done with this incident yet. We need, as a security team, we want to inform our clients that, hey, there's an unusual number of failed sign-in attempts on one endpoint, and the sign-in attempts are originating from these two malicious IPs. And we can tell them, hey, we put a block indicator in place to add that layer of security, but we can also provide the client with a couple of recommendations, like maybe they should block those IPs at the firewall level as well, and maybe ensure that the jump box device isn't internet facing and exposed to the public. So by putting these block indicators in place in this client's environment, this is going to ensure that no communications to and from those IPs are going to take place any further. Okay, so that's the great thing about Defender XDR. We can put those block indicators in place to block those IPs. So the second alert that we're going to be going through today is a multi-stage incident involving initial access and execution on a single endpoint. Okay, and as you can see to the left-hand side here, we have the attack story. Now, the good thing is with Defender XDR provides us with a very clear and concise attack story. Okay, so going through the first alert, we have a possible initial access from an emerging threat. We also have a suspicious command in the run MRU registry, as well as a suspicious PowerShell command line. So looking at the first alert, I'm just going to minimize that. And we're going to go down to the first alert, and we see Defender has detected that the MSHTA executable is the possible initial access point. So what is this doing? So this is essentially saying that MSHTA is being used to connect to this very suspicious URL. So it looks like that MSHTA is trying to execute a command that's hosted at this URL. And it's doing that because MSHTA, this executable, is actually a legitimate Windows binary, and it's used to execute HTA files. And HTA files are essentially HTML files that have like JavaScript inside of them. Okay, so this right here is extremely suspicious. And we'll come back to this here momentarily. Okay, so the second alert, suspicious command in run MRU registry. So we're going to go down and we're going to find that alert, which is right at the end here. So what Defender XDR is telling us here is that a very suspicious command was run from the run dialog box. Okay, and we know this because the run MRU registry actually logs all the most recently used commands from the run dialog box. Okay, so as you can see here, this set value data, this was the command that was executed from the run dialog box. Okay, and if you had caught this from the first alert, that same command is present inside this possible initial access from an emerging threat alert, okay? So this is proof that the user initiated this command from the run dialog box. So as a security analyst, we know that this is definitely suspicious. So moving on to the third alert, which is the suspicious PowerShell command line. Again, we're gonna just close that up just so we can see it a little bit better. We'll close this side up too. And as you can see here, this is what Defender XDR is flagging as a suspicious PowerShell command line. And as you can see here, there's a very long string of random text. That's obfuscated code. We also see some suspicious keywords here like cryptography as well as create decryptor. So based on this observed activity, we know that this is in fact malicious based off of the observations that we came to. Okay, so what do we do from here? Well, as a security analyst, we want to stop whatever is happening on this device, and we want to stop it right away. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by using Defender XDR to isolate the device. And that's the great thing with Defender XDR is that if you see this type of activity in any other client's environment, you can easily isolate that device to contain that threat. Okay, and that will prevent any future spread or further spread across the environment. Okay, so going back to the possible initial access from an emerging threat alert. So what essentially is happening here is the user entered in a command, a malicious command at that, in the run dialog box. And you might be wondering, how in the world did the user do that? Well, so after we isolate the device, what the analyst can do is they can go through the device timeline. Now, due to time constraints, we're not going to jump into the device timeline, but just know that Defender XDR does an amazing job at capturing all events up to, during, and after all this malicious activity. So it catches everything, okay? And it really helps our analysts in identifying the source of this activity. So since we're not going to be going through the device timeline, upon further investigation, we noticed that the user in question actually visited a recently compromised website. And what I mean by that is that the user frequently visited this website. Unfortunately, attackers were able to compromise the website and they injected malicious code inside of it. So each time a user navigates to that web page, they're presented with a fake CAPTCHA page. And that fake CAPTCHA page provides a set of instructions that the user followed, and that resulted in them copy and pasting a command inside the run dialog box and execute it. And that resulted in the activity that we're seeing here. Now, the good thing is with Defender XDR is that it detected that activity. And even though that the MSHTA executable is a legitimate Windows binary, Defender XDR did a very good job of picking up that activity because the attackers are leveraging this utility to run their malicious commands opposed to dropping their own malware on the device and doing those same actions. This way, they're avoiding detection or trying to avoid detection. Okay? So the third incident that we're going to be going through this morning is a malicious sign-in from an anomalous user agent linked to an AITM attack, which is attacker in the middle. Okay? So as you can see from the attack story, Defender does another good job of providing that attack story for the analyst to understand exactly what's going on in this incident, okay? So the reason why I wanted to showcase this incident is because, well, I mean, it's a doozy of an incident, but I really wanted to show what capabilities Defender XDR has in the sense that it automatically takes action, okay? So looking at the attack story, we have malicious sign-in from an unusual user agent, risky sign-in after clicking a possible AITM phishing URL, and then we have a compromised user account and a recognized attack pattern. So you can see here that each of these alerts actually triggered at the same time. So now that doesn't mean that these alerts were fired in that order. That's just the way that Defender XDR outputted it. So essentially what happened here is the user clicked on a phishing URL, they provided their credentials, and then the attacker used a very suspicious user agent known as Axios, which is used legitimately by like web developers, and it's used for like web requests and stuff like that. So the attacker in this case uses Axios to almost like a proxy to intercept that sign-in request from the user, and then they use Axios to forward their request to finish the sign-in for themselves. So they're the ones that are signing in, hence the alert, the malicious sign-in from an unusual user agent. Okay, so we can also see there's 4 extra alerts here. The possible BEC related inbox rule, suspicious Outlook rules, BEC financial fraud, as well as suspicious manipulation inbox rule. Okay, so that looks kind of intimidating because there's 4 alerts, but that just means that these alerts are just being triggered by different detection mechanisms that Defender XDR has, okay? So the grand scheme of this incident is essentially the user clicked on a phishing URL, they provided their credentials, the attackers use Axios to intercept that request, and then they forward the request themselves in order to sign in, hence the alert malicious sign-in from an unusual user agent, okay? So what happened here is the attacker signed in, and then they were able to add a rule to that account. So what they actually did was they added a rule to the account named just dot, and they forwarded all messages to the RSS feeds, which is an attempt to hide any incoming communication to the actual user, okay? So the great thing with Defender XDR here is that based on all these alerts associated in this incident, Defender XDR is saying, oh, well, the user's account shows sign-ins using a malicious or a suspicious user agent. There's an alert for AITM phishing URL, and then that resulted in the attacker putting an inbox rule on that user's account. Defender XDR automatically takes over, and they suspend and disable that account to prevent that account from sending out fraudulent emails to internal users that would result into potentially further compromises, which obviously would be a complete mess. So Defender XDR did a really good job here of detecting that the user clicked on the phishing URL. They detected that the sign-in was malicious because of the user agent that was used, as well as the inbox rule that was added to that account. Based on those three events, Defender XDR takes over, disables, and suspends the account and completely locks it down. And this is where our analysts come in, and we go ahead and reset the user's password, revoke sessions, and whatever else that needs to be done. So that's the great thing about Defender XDR, is that it catches these alerts, and then it immediately took action to keep our client's environment secure. So that's the great thing with Defender XDR using the attack disruption, okay? So all these events happened, Defender XDR's attack disruption took over, and we can confirm that attack disruption took over because we can go to the Action Center, and we can see here, this is the actual user. I know it's going to be, it's blocked out, but that's the user, and we can see over here, decided by attack disruption. So that's another great feature from Defender XDR. It really identifies those threats, and then it automatically takes over, disables, and suspends that account. So that's it for my portion of today's webinar. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thank you all for joining, and yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my SOC team for supporting me and for doing this webinar, as well as the marketing team for allowing me to do this webinar. So yes, thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for your excellent demonstration on real-world cyber threats and the tactics and techniques used. I'm going to further the discussion and bring in the perspective of strategy that organizations can use to help determine how to rank and analyze the impacts to their business. So the audience, we will get an understanding on what a business impact score and what business impact analysis is, why it matters, key steps to planning, the cost impacts in the industry, and the cybersecurity implications. So what is a business impact score? Think of BIS like a risk calculator. It's a quick way to measure how much damage something like a cybersecurity attack, power outage, or even a system failure could cause to your business. It looks at things like how much money did you lose financially, how much work would stop from an operational perspective, how customers or the public might react to your reputation, whether you break any laws or rules from a compliant regulatory perspective. All of these components, they add up and they're scored so leaders can quickly see what's urgent or harmful, like a priority scorecard of all the bad events. And then, of course, what is a business impact analysis, a BIA? This is going to be your what if plan. It's going to be the step-by-step look at how your business would be affected if something went wrong and what you need to do to keep things running. It helps answer the questions like, what parts of the business are most important to keep running? How long can we be down before there's real damage? What backup or recovery plans do we need? Who needs to do what in an emergency. It's like building a business emergency readiness guide, helping you plan before trouble happens. So in short, BIS is your score that shows how bad something could be, and a BIA, the plan is to show you how prepared you are with the plan to respond. And both are going to be the key tools in protecting your business from majority disruptions, especially when it comes to the risks within cybersecurity. So here is a quick scenario, right? I call this the day the systems went dark. So you have your team, they arrive to work on a regular Tuesday morning and let's say this is going to be at a manufacturing facility, a mid-sized company that produces smart sensors, right? Orders are lined up, customer deliveries are on schedule, everything seemed to be business as usual. But just before 10 o'clock in the morning, everything changed. An employee clicked on what looked like a typical shipping invoice, but it was ransomware. Within minutes, the company's internal systems were locked. No one can access order data, production schedules, or even email. So think about this. Operations halted, shipments delayed, external customers begin calling support. Now, when the team scrambles and they're like, what is going on? How long can we afford to be down? What systems do we need to get back up first? It's silence. No one had ever mapped it out. In this example scenario, this organization lost over $500,000 in missed revenue and recovery costs in just 3 days. So what's the lesson here? Had there been an exercise to have a business impact analysis report ahead of time, they would have known what systems were most critical to be put back online, how long they could be offline before any real damage was occurred, who was responsible for getting things back online, what backups or contingency plans they needed. Instead of reacting in chaos, they could have responded with a plan. So your business impact analysis, your BIA, it's not just paperwork, it's your playbook when everything stops working. Now, I like this slide. It's a bit of the nerdy mathematics, and for those who are interested in the formulas out there, this is your key and a very clear guide to how you can calculate your business impact score. So keep this in handy. So a common way to quantify your business impact analysis, you need to have various results from your business impact score. And this is where the financial impact, operational impact, reputational impact, and the compliance impact can be reviewed and weighted with a score to know how to respond. And now here are two even deeper and closer scenarios that are very similar to two breach examples that can happen to the same company. And if these were to occur at the exact same time, affecting two different lines of business, how would you prioritize the response? If breach number one occurs, causing $310,000 worth of financial loss per day, we'll call this your FI, your financial impact. 4 days of downtime, your operational impact. A high reputational damage, your RI. The regulatory fines, we'll say it's up to $1 million for your compliance impact, and the various critical weightings across the board based on the line of business. We rank them at 5 for financial, 5 for operational, 4 for reputational, and 5 for compliance. And we'll compare this with breach scenario number 2, $600K worth of financial loss, 2 days of downtime. We'll call it a medium reputational damage based on that line of business. Similar aspect of compliance, the same organization, but a different level of severity weightings were categorized. Now, based on the formula that was in the previous slide, remember, higher scores equals a more critical risk that needs immediate action. Which scenario do you believe is more severe to the business?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? The answer is breach number 1. It has a higher weighted score of about 200,000 points more severe. Now, with that being said, this now takes into consideration if there are multiple different occurrences that may happen, whether it's from physical security, network security, device security, impacting your business. You should be able to classify and rank the overall weighted score of how it will impact each different lines of business and the severity across your organization, and have that categorized and mapped out. Now, here are more 6 key steps to consider. Step 1, we want to define the scope and objectives. Identify the business functions and the assets to assess. Establish your business impact analysis objectives and alignment within your security policies. Step 2, gather data and assess impact. Interview your stakeholders and document the critical processes that are involved and are within your guys' standard operating procedures. Measure the financial, operational, reputational, and the compliance impacts based on our BIS score. Step 3, determine your recovery objectives. This is where we're going to define the maximum tolerable downtime, your MTDs. Establish recovery time objectives with your RTOs for each applicable system. Step 4, conduct a risk analysis and prioritization. We want to be able to identify threats, the cybersecurity attacks, the ransomware, hardware failures, anything human error related. We want to be able to get those classified. And step 5, develop mitigation and response strategies, right? Define your security controls and response measures to minimize impact. Have an in-house or an outsourced security operations team to support your business. Implement backup and incident response procedures. Step 6, document and implement your business impact analysis findings. Present your findings to your executive leadership, get buy-in, and of course, integrate your business impact analysis results into your business continuity and cybersecurity strategies. So conducting a business impact analysis can seem like a daunting task, but by breaking it down into a series of manageable steps, you can approach it with confidence and structure. So it's clear that financial risks are always there. And with the recent reports from 2024, the average cost of a enterprise-related breach is now up to $4.8 million per incident as per the IBM's 2024 cost of a data breach report. And then more so on the small to medium business lens, 95% of extortion-related ransomware breaches can range from as low as 46,000 up to 1.2 million. So that's within the full 95 percentile range. And this is from the Verizon 2024 data report. It's needless to say that lost revenue due to downtime, regulatory fines, litigation costs is never the focus of our traditional businesses, but it can be unpredictable in terms of the events that occur. When we look at operational disruptions, the lack of preparedness can result in extended outages, impacting productivity, and this is big concerns for supply chain and healthcare organizations, where disruptions can cause other serious life-impacting occurrences. That are the businesses need to have a high level of dependencies and plans in place and procedures to follow, so that there is actions that can be taken immediately when something happens. So are you worried about your reputational damage? Because a loss of customer trust following a cybersecurity incident should always be top of mind. If you have to ever report anything to the media, that coverage can also impact potential investor confidence. And this can go a long way depending on which vertical or area your business is going, and the longevity of your business based on, are you a new startup looking to eventually get into a merger and acquisition scenario, or are you already a long-standing organization, maybe publicly traded, where this again can be a high-level factor that could influence your organization's financial posture. And lastly, on the regulatory and compliance violations, if you are influenced by GDPR, HIPAA, ISO 27001, the penalties for failure to protect data and business process are high. So the fines and legal consequences can also occur due to inadequate disaster recovery planning. So let's have a strategy. With indicators of compromises that continuously evolve, we also need to be ready in the line of defense. Cybersecurity threats are no longer isolated incidents. They pose a significant business risk capable of causing financial losses, reputational damage, operational disruptions, and of course, the list goes on with regulatory penalties. But traditionally, business impact analyses, they have focused solely around BCDR, the business continuity and disaster recovery, and organizations have done it in a piecemeal, a little bit here, a little bit there. But the growing prevalence, the importance of having the full picture and all those components planned within your organization, it does require a much holistic approach, but it's going to help to bring down those security-driven disruptions that are unpredictable. So a proper analysis examines your business impact score, your business impact analysis reports, and by using and understanding that with all the real world security research insights, and understanding the various 100 plus MITRE attack tactics and techniques that are combined and can be used to infiltrate our businesses, right? Scenarios from initial access, execution, privilege, escalation. By having a proactive approach and an investment in an extended detection and response posture, zero trust frameworks, and advanced threat intelligence solutions will help bring your picture together. So with that, let's have a plan, a strong supporting incident response team, and your internal business continuity and disaster recovery strategies. Thank you for listening and attending our webinar. Reach out to our Bulletproof team for any additional information and advise you on next steps. Stick around for additional questions and answer session that we're going to be having, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.